Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome to something a little different.
Just a little bit.
This is an idea that we just kind of had because we were sitting around bullshitting. As I'm sure you are all aware by the fact that we have talked about Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder multiple times on this channel before, and have even had a playthrough of a Pathfinder game going for a bit, me and Zephyr both kind of like tabletop role-playing games.
Surprise.
I know, I don't think we're surprising anybody with that take. So earlier today we were talking how Pathfinder, especially first edition, had a lot of stuff that was just like, it starts out with, oh hey, here's this generic fantasy setting, and then it starts introducing the aliens. So we decided to take a look at all of the ancestries that are currently available in Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is the most recent iteration of the system, and rate them on a scale of who asked. To explain ourselves, more or less the thought process we're going with here is, if someone told you this is now a playable race or ancestry or whatever they want to call it in this tabletop system, how common is, like, what's the response? Is the response is, oh, well, of course they included that. Or is the response, what the fuck is that?
Exactly.
So just like, no one's gonna be surprised that there's humans in the system, but you might be a little surprised when there's, like, you know, sentient beings of light or some shit.
Those are just Aasimars.
They're not literally beings of light. That's metaphorical. More or less, this might just end up being a video of us going through the ancestries of Pathfinder 2nd edition and laughing at what exists. But, yep, so, first of all, I think this is Dwarf right here. I don't think I need to explain what a dwarf is, and I don't think I need to explain why it's just there.
Are those, like, really big people?
No, that is the opposite of what they are. Like, literally, you have completely fucked it up.
Ah, the elves.
There we go. Speaking of the elves, just straight up to required races. Like, if your fantasy setting tabletop game does not have dwarves and elves, you have made a confusing choice.
Congratulations, Lord of the Rings, you have passed.
Yes, exactly. To be fair, I think most tabletop settings, since, like, the days of yore, have been based on Lord of the Rings to at least some extent.
Exactly.
Like, not all the way, but a little bit. Up next is gnomes. Let me see if I can't find gnomes. Here's the gnomes.
They're little people.
Yeah, little people like dwarves, but more lithe rather than stocky. They are largely concerned with, like, you know, they're the inventors of the world.
They're also good at working the gardens as a garden gnome.
Well, I mean, yeah, they build, they work. They're very similar to dwarves, actually, when you think about it.
Except they're smarter.
Yeah, usually
depending on the context.
Usually, gnomes are considered smarter. I think gnomes are pretty ubiquitous, so I don't feel comfortable even putting them in, like, oft-requested. Like, oft-requested is just like, if it's not in your system, people might be a little bummed. Like, if you don't have dwarves in your fantasy system, people probably won't even buy the system. You can get away with not putting in something like goblins or something.
I think gnomes have been in every edition of every tabletop game anyway.
Yeah, like, you don't really think about them very much, but
nobody plays gnomes.
I have played
Who plays gnomes?
I have had a single person play a gnome at my table. They played a gnome wizard. Given he was awesome. But
gnome wizard named Merlin.
Delabine was his name, actually. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that could be just good. Gnome's a staple race. Up next is Goblin. I don't think goblins are typically considered core. Usually goblins are in, like, the second book that comes out with race options.
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm honestly a little surprised Goblin was core for 2nd edition Pathfinder.
I mean, I guess people play them enough that may as well.
Yeah, like, they are, like, the most... Oh, fuck, I was drinking a beer and my beer overflowed. I think goblins are the most played monstrous race, technically. They're the most common enemy in the game. I think between goblins and orcs, goblins win it out.
Yeah.
So, and they are definitely the more popular to play.
Along with kobolds, but... because, you know, kobolds are the superior little gremlin-type races.
Kobolds are usually physically superior, but, like, for whatever reason, goblins just get more rep.
Those damn goblins.
So...
because they're green.
Usually they are green. This one's blue, though.
Little green people. Maybe it's a hobgoblin.
Yeah, no, I think Goblin is like the poster boy for oft requested. Like, no one's going to not buy a system if it doesn't include playable goblins, but they are ubiquitous enough in terms of, you know, tabletop settings that it's just like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Halfling.
Those are also little people. They're not quite little.
They are small, but...
I always find it weird that gnomes and halflings aren't the same thing.
Right? Like, I feel like that's just gotta actually be Lord of the Rings. I don't remember when halflings were, like, you know, first introduced. It might just be the hobbitses, but halflings are pretty ubiquitous now, so I think that's a pretty easy rank on required staple races.
Mm-hmm.
And then human, unsurprising. So
I didn't ask for humans.
Humans are in every setting. Like, come on.
Nah.
Humans are even in, like, weird mech stuff like Lancer. Up next is the
uncommon ancestries. These are more you'll find in, like, the advanced player's guide and off
the beaten path.
Yeah.
So we're starting with the Azarketi, I think is how you pronounce that. Aquatic humanoids that share a somber, burdened history. They're fish people.
Heck, they're kind of like fish people.
So they're the Triton.
No, Tritons are
more sea elves, yeah.
Yeah, they're more sea-like, but these are more like people with fish-like properties. Well, not fish-like, but like water-type properties.
Yeah, they even go so far as to give them amphibious as a trait.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't feel comfortable ranking them high, because, like, if they were Tritons, then I could give them high, because Tritons are actually somewhat common. Like, people know what a Triton is, that's Aquaman.
Yeah.
But, like, this feels also Aquaman, but not Aquaman, so I don't really know where to put the Azarketi. I'm half tempted to just go, I don't know what this is. I guess people wanted aquatic humanoids rather than aquatic elves. So, like, maybe we could go with, I suppose, someone asked for this?
Maybe.
Like, less generic looking, not less generic, more generic fish people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somewhere between the Tritons, which are, like, you know, Aquaman, and more just swamp people.
Plus, you get a swim speed of 30 feet.
You get them a Triton. It feels like discount Triton. That's why I'm confused. Up next is the Catfolk. People who play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons might be more familiar if I called them Tabaxi. Curious and gregarious creatures, Catfolk combine the features of felines and humanoids in both appearance and temperament. They enjoy learning new things, collecting new tales and trinkets, and ensuring that their loved ones are safe and happy. They're cats, but they're people.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Simple fucking concept. We don't really have to talk about it. I think...
Raise a kitty.
I don't know how much I see Catfolk. Like, I don't think Catfolk were in, like, 3.5. I know they're in 5th, and I know they're in Pathfinder 1st because Pathfinder 1st has everything, but they also still don't feel, like, super common. Like, it's not your first thing you play, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times it's not the first thing you'd be playing unless you're a furry.
Yeah, I was about to say that I feel like we have to give it not common, but nice that they're here just on the grounds of furry rep.
Yeah. like you have to understand, furries are people too.
No, yeah, like...
They want to play the furry races.
Yeah, and like, Catfolk is like the quintessential furry race. So, we could go as high as like oft requested, in my opinion, actually. So like, somewhere in this range, I think. I don't know, what do you think? Oft requested or not that common?
Well, maybe you could see it as like, there weren't enough furries playing the game, so they wanted to think of a way to include furries play the game, so they included the Catfolk.
Alright, yeah, I can get that.
So, I guess I would be... I don't know.
AJ?
Off. Yeah.
Up next is the Fetchling.
The Fetchlings are actually really fucking cool, though.
Once human and now something apart, Fetchlings display the Shadow Plane's ancient influence through monochrome complexions, glowing eyes, and the casting of supernatural shadows. Okay, that is kind of cool.
Yes. They see in darkness, exercise control over shadows, and have strange occult powers. Some develop their powers enough to pass between shadow and material planes, leaving their ancestries to whisper about figures that emerge from shaded corners and then vanish without a trace.
They're using a funky name for, like, shadow-possessed people, but, like, I get the vibe they're going with, so...
But they're more like a combination of light and dark people.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like that same kind of vibe as Aasimar, but more inherently dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, but, like, the flavor is a little weird. Like, the flavor feels like something they invented, you know what I mean?
And that's how a lot of 2E races are.
Nah, yeah, I get you. So it's just, like, I feel like the vibe of this one kind of lands it in C tier. Like, it's a weird choice that this was designed and not just, like, lumped in as part of Aasimar. Like, maybe, like, Fallen Aasimar or something. But, like,
they don't even come close to Aasimars, though. They're not even like Aasimars. The first Fletchlings were refugees ages ago when Earthfall destroyed ancient Aslant and cast the world into darkness. One small group of Aslanti pleaded for rescue. A mysterious hooded figure known as the Widow answered their call, slicing open a passage into the shadow plane. Aslanti stepped through, trading the darkness of Earthfall for deep shadow as they navigated the plane's strange environs and dangerous inhabitants. Its nature slowly worked monumental changes to the survivors.
Environs is an interesting way to put that word.
If you want a character more at home in a mirror world of shadow infused with umbral gloom and who embodies the duality of light and darkness, you should play a Fetchling.
So it's kind of like Dark Aligned, like stuff like Drow and Shadowkai, but more neutral in a way?
They're drows if drows were actually people.
Wow, okay, Wizards is trying to, like, they're doing a whole thing about trying to stop that. But, yeah, no, in all seriousness, I kind of get where they're going with this. It feels somewhat unique, but I do understand the appeal, so I'm thinking C or D tier. What do you think?
Probably C.
Yeah, C feels pretty right. Alright, up next is the Gnoll. Powerfully built humanoids that resemble hyenas, Gnolls are cunning warriors and hunters. Their frightening visage and efficient tactics have given them an ill-starred reputation.
Hyena people.
Gnolls are pretty ubiquitous in terms of, like, I wouldn't say they're as common as orcs or goblins, but I also feel like they've been around a long time. They have some, like, name power. But at the same time, playable Gnolls aren't exactly something you see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
I think this also kind of lands in D tier for me. Just because, like, it's not something you see a lot, but at the same time, it's like, people who want to play monstrous races don't go for Gnoll.
The fact that Gnolls always keep coming back as a playable race means at least somebody is playing them, right?
That's a fair point.
Somebody wants to play a Gnoll, I guess.
I've never seen it, and I've been at a few tables, but that is a fair point. So I guess that's it. That's a C.
I've never seen one, so.
No, yeah, like I've been playing tabletop for years on years, and I've never seen a person play a Gnoll. It's like the last monstrous race you ever see someone think about. But like, it's here. It's been here since the dawn of time. You got like fucking 2003 10-year alumni reunion of fucking monstrous races. Gnoll's sitting there. Everyone's like, did you go to this school?
Exactly.
Grippli. Grippli are a shy and cautious people who generally seem to avoid being drawn into complicated and dangerous affairs of others. Despite their outlook and small stature, Grippli's often take bold and noble action when the situation demands it. They're also frogs.
They're literal frog people.
The Grippli are pretty common, in all honesty. I think they're called something different. I think they're called Grung in 5th edition.
Yeah.
Which I think is just like an alt name. But yeah, they're pretty common. I think Grippli can be our first B.
Look, I like frogs, okay?
No, yeah, like I see Grippli thought about. Grippli has name power in circles. People know what this is.
Like,
You add a Grippli, everyone's just like, yeah, alright, that makes sense.
And they get a little light vision.
Hobgoblin. Taller and shit.
Taller and shit, okay.
Taller and stronger than their goblin kin, hobgoblins are equal in strength and size to humans, with broad shoulders and long, powerful arms. This one is hard for me because, like, no one plays hobgoblins because they kinda suck, like, thematically. But at the same time, hobgoblins are always there because they've got to be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have a goblin and not have a hobgoblin. That's silly.
Yeah, they're usually paired up as races to be included.
Yeah, so like, on the one hand, part of me wants to just toss it into A tier with goblin, because where goblin goes, hobgoblin follows. But it doesn't feel like he deserves it?
No, like I feel like hobgoblins are just way less.
Yeah, like
They're way less commonly used than
think
regular goblins.
B or C?
I would say C.
C?
Well,
I think like B or
I would say D.
D.
Because again, like goblins are objectively the better race, or they're the more commonly played race than hobgoblins. But hobgoblins are still, you know, they're still included. But
yeah, like it feels weird putting hobgoblin this low, because hobgoblin is pretty ubiquitous in terms of like, if goblin is there, hobgoblin is also almost always there.
The hobgoblin would be what your goblin player would have as part of their backstory.
Yeah, so it's just like
a hobgoblin master or a hobgoblin mentor or something.
It feels
or just a friend. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels weird putting it at D, but I totally understand it. Yeah, D. Kitsune. Kitsune are charismatic and witty people with connection to the spiritual that grants them many magical abilities, chiefly the power to shape change into other forms. It's the weeb race.
Fucks girls.
Like, unironically, this is the weeb race.
Yes, the furry weeb race.
I feel like that earns it B at the very minimum, just because like you see a lot of kitsunes, so it's just like that tracks.
Yeah.
I'm honestly a little surprised Kitsune, like, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons doesn't have a Kitsune equivalent.
Unfortunate.
Or fortunate, depending on your outlook.
Damn, there's not enough furries in my D&D.
Dungeon Master looking at all the fucking races in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. What the fuck are you talking about? Kobold. Every kobold knows that their slight frame belies true, mighty, draconic power. They are ingenious crafters and devoted allies within their warrens, but those who trespass into their territory find them to be inspired skirmishers, especially when they have the backing of a draconic sorcerer or true dragon overlord. Kobolds are
amazing.
I think kobolds can... Alright, calm down. I think kobolds are pretty common overall. Like, kobold below B does not feel right, and I would even go so far as to put kobold in A.
Yeah, A.
Like, Kobold could be B, but, like, right now we have Grippli and Kitsune in B, and it feels like it's above that. So, like, if it's B, it's the king of B.
King of B.
Kobold Rush B. Leshy. Guardians and emissaries of the environment, Leshies are immortal spirits of nature temporarily granted physical form.
Plant people.
This one is strange to me.
Leshies are born when a skilled druid or other master of primal magic conducts a ritual to create a suitable vessel, and then a spirit chooses that vessel to be their temporary home. Leshies are self-sufficient from the moment the ritual ends, and so they do not depend upon these druids for care, though it is not uncommon for Leshies to maintain lifelong bonds with their creators.
D.
They're literal plant people.
Yeah, no, like, I am confident in I think Leshy is like high D. Like, someone definitely asked to be Plant Man.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the fact that enough people asked to be Plant Man for it to be in one of the first books of, like, expanded race options is surprising, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone actually ask for that.
But I like that they're there.
No, yeah, like, I'm here for it. It's just, like, where is this silent majority of Plantkin stands?
Mm-hmm.
We never hear from them. They're photosynthesizing.
Exactly.
Lizardfolk. Lizardfolk are consummate survivors, heirs to empires considered ancient even by the elves.
Lizard people.
Lizardfolk is so weird because, like, I have seen 3, I just counted, 3 people play a Lizardfolk ever. One of them is in my current game.
Mm-hmm.
Given I like Lizardfolk, don't get me wrong, it's just like, it is not the most common thing to see played. But at the same time, it's also, like, it's right up there with Kobold.
You know, for the scalies.
Yeah, so, like, I guess Lizardfolk could be B, just because, like, it feels like it should be there.
Yeah, they kind of feel like a staple, in a way.
Yeah, like, honestly, I would put Lizardfolk above Kobold. Like, Lizardfolk are more common to see put into games as playable races than Kobold.
Mm-hmm.
So it's strange that they are as repped as they are. It's just like, I feel like I feel like Lizardfolk deserves A tier, but at the same time, I feel like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just like, Lizardfolk and Kobold feel like they need to be together. So if we're gonna put Kobold in A, Lizardfolk needs to be in A as well.
Okay.
That or they could both go to B, because, like I said, Kobold, it's like, it feels like it fits B.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think? Move them both?
No, I think Kobold should stay in A.
Alright. Orc. Orcs are forged in the fires of violence and conflict, often from the moment they are born. As they live lives that are frequently cut brutally short, orcs revel in testing their strength against worthy foes, whether by challenging a higher-ranking member of their community for dominance, or raiding a neighboring settlement. Honestly, I feel like, and this is mostly because half-orc isn't in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yes, it is.
It is now?
It's been there.
Really?
Yeah, it's in half-human heritages.
Right, yeah. I forgot about that. It's the same with dwarves and elves. But, like, I feel like a lot of times half-orcs are considered their own race, I think. I feel like half-orcs are pretty common in terms of, like, shit you see in tabletop games. So, I feel like orc kind of becomes the crossbearer for this one in 2nd edition. So, for that reason, I'm actually going to say orc for S tier. I think orc earns its spot at S tier.
A lot of people do. When they see half orcs, a lot of people are curious about playing an actual orc.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like most people, I feel like the pretty common idea is for people to play a half orc because they want to play an orc. A lot of people, upon finding out that orc is an option, and upon finding out that it's not banned, because for a while, look, orcs weren't even allowed at some official tables in a lot of systems for a long time.
Damn.
Like, I think early official 5th edition and Pathfinder Society both didn't allow orc players. I might be wrong about Pathfinder Society though.
I don't know about the Pathfinder Society.
And I think Wizards of the Coast was only because at the time they didn't allow the book.
True.
Orc cements itself enough that I feel like Orc deserves S tier. I think that fits.
Alright.
Ratfolk.
Where are the rats?
Yosoki, as Ratfolk call themselves, are clever and adaptable. A fastidious ancestry who happily crowd their large families into the smallest of living spaces.
Rat people.
I cannot in good conscience put this above B tier.
Why? They're rats and they're people.
I don't, like, my opinions on the race aside, I kind of actually dig it, but you can't tell me that rat folk are, like, super common.
Well, they're not super common.
So, like...
They can go into B.
I think, I would argue C.
Look, here's my counter argument. Stuart Little.
I'll allow it. Tengu. Tengus are a gregarious and resourceful people that are spread far and wide from their ancestral home in Tiansha, collecting and combining whatever innovations and traditions that happen along across their way.
Tengus, they're bird people.
And I feel like Tengu are pretty... Tengu are weird.
They're crow people.
Yeah, like, Tengu are an interesting one for me because you don't really... Tengus are like the stealth popular pick. Like, you never really think about Tengus in your mind, but there are a lot of Tengus. Like, Tengu players are out there being really sneaky. Like, you see them and you go, oh, cool. And you don't really think about it anymore. No one is asking for Tengu, but everyone is playing Tengu. So it's kind of in, like, this weird position, which kind of fits because a lot of Tengu players play rogues.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where to put, like, it feels like it's in that mid area between B and C. I don't think it's A tier, but, like, I feel like it's right in between here, and I can't really say how.
I love that you can be an Aasimar Tengu.
Yeah, because Aasimar is not its own race in 2nd edition.
Exactly.
Yo, I have an idea. There we go.
Tengu.
Right between B and C, it's the Tengu tier. The Tengu gets its own tier.
Alright. And
Anadi.
now we are moving on to the rare ancestries. And this is where things are gonna get really weird.
Anadi. Anadi are people reclusive, sapient spiders who hail from the jungles of southern Garund. That's a place in Pathfinder lore. Though they act in many ways like natural-born shapeshifters, their twin forms actually stem from carefully developed magic.
Spider people.
Who the fuck actually?
Yeah, but have you seen the pictures for the spiders?
They're adorable. I'm fine with it, but just like no one asked to be people asked to be driders. People did not ask to be shapeshifting Spider-Men.
Hey, you know what'll be good for our players' arachnophobia? Spider people that you can play as.
Hey Jim, department came in. They said they wanted to make spider people. Can you do that? Sure, Tim. I can have it out by Monday. 1 weekend later. That was not what I fucking meant. He's just holding a picture of a drider, and then you have a concept art of whatever this is. Don't get me wrong, I love the Anadi. I think they're adorable. Like, this is an adorable race that I would play. Like, now that I know it exists. But at the same time, I do not believe anyone had this idea before someone at Paizo. I am convinced that this is a misunderstanding of what a drider is.
Maybe.
I'm comfortable on D or maybe E. But, like, someone asked for spider people, so I can see D, but, like, the concept is D, the execution is E.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, D?
D.
D. Android. Technological wonders from another world. Androids have synthetic bodies and living souls. Their dual nature makes them quick-finding and calm under pressure, but comfortable in stillness and solitude.
Literal androids.
Honestly, I think androids and Warforged are like those kind of things that like everyone kind of like dabbles with the idea of playing. Like, androids are as popular as they've all, like, Terminator happened, and robots just kind of have been a thing everyone wants to fuck around with. So, I honestly think Android deserves at least B. Like, I would put Android high B.
True. I always wanted to play as the Terminator.
Like, I get it. Automaton. These intelligent constructs house actual souls and represent what remains of a dying empire's last attempt at greatness. Automatons combine technological ingenuity with magical power, creating a blended being wholly unique. I don't understand how this is meant to be different.
What are you talking about?
What is the difference between Android and Automaton? They're both...
Android is 2B and 9S. Automaton is literally every robot you're fighting. Automaton are the Engel robots.
Taking that definition, because I don't have a better one, I'm comfortable with this in E. Maybe D.
You can have a Nier Automaton campaign with Pathfinder 2nd Edition now.
Like but nobody wants to play as the Automaton. This is a DM race.
What if you want it to be a literal suit of armor?
All right, you know what? It gets deep on the grounds that I've heard that before. Conrasu. Conrasu are shards of cosmic force, given consciousness, who construct intricate exoskeletons to interface with the mortal world. Born an integral part of the underlying processes of the universe and strangely set apart, Conraus look to aeons to understand their existence. Will you join the Unity or die here? This is the Master from Fallout 1.
I mean, they can take other forms too. They're just like, you know.
But yes, I am a sentient computer, eons old. I have come to assist thee in thy 1 to 5 campaign.
The true form of a Conrasu is an abstract chunk of spiritual essence. While their being exists beyond the truth of humanoid senses to the mortal eye, their body usually resembles a globe of light, darkness, or space.
Who?
Floating internal pinpricks of illumination sit inside the ball, slightly obscured as if peeking through a gelatinous substance. These cores surround themselves with bodies made out of still living wood, creating the form that most people recognize as a Conrasu.
I do not believe someone asked for this.
They're just literal balls that carve their own bodies from wood, I guess.
Yeah, I guess wood, maybe dirt, something. I don't... This feels so esoteric. Like, it doesn't feel... It feels like it's something grounded in a thing. But, like, if it wasn't, like, centuries-old beings of light, I feel like I'd be comfortable with it in, like, E. But, like, the added flavor almost pushes it to F for me.
The added flavor? Why?
Like, it is like you are a 22nd dimensional being from the planet XR325 who has come to Earth and wrapped himself in a tree in order to interact with Jim the Orc Barbarian. No, the fuck you're not.
Conrasus aren't entirely clear on their own origins. Some historians think them a failed experiment of a wizardly cabal, possibly a splinter of artificers from the ancient Jitska Imperium, who desperately hoped to bind a pleroma to bolster their army, but who accidentally conjured shattered scraps of the Aeon instead. Others believe Conrasus were built by their ancestors using an accelerated iterative evolution process as natural as one designed by those who build portions of their own bodies could ever hope to achieve. Most likely it is a mix of the two.
Okay, yeah, that settles it. This was something someone at Paizo created and thought was cool. This is someone's OC.
Oh no.
I'll put it in E. That feels fair. Like, it feels like it's grounded. Like, I made the joke about the Master. I'm sure someone has wanted to play as the Master before. This is something I can see maybe someone asking about at some point. But it's one of those ideas that someone might have asked about, but was immediately vetoed by the DM, if that makes any sense.
A little bit.
Fleshwarp. Fleshwarps are people whose forms were created...
Fleshwarps.
Oh, fuck.
Fleshwarp just sounds like a condom brand.
Oh, God. Fleshwarps are people whose forms were created or radically transformed by magic, alchemy, or unnatural energies. Their unorthodox appearance can make it difficult for them to find a place for themselves in this world. Who asked to play this? This is a debuff your race takes.
What do you mean?
Like, I'm pretty sure this is an actual debuff in Pathfinder 1st. You fucked up your alchemy. You gain the fucked up face feat. You take like a -2 to charisma checks, but gain +5 resistance to poison and acid.
They actually look pretty cool, though.
No, like, I'm here for this as a thing, but just like, why? I don't understand why it's its own thing. This feels like it should be the same as Aasimar. It feels like they were it's any race blessed by a god for the purpose of carrying out divine will. And that does not necessarily need to be human. And in all honesty, I do like that Aasimar aren't their own race in 2nd edition Pathfinder, because it opens the ground for Aasimar elves, Aasimar dwarves, Aasimar Tengu. That just sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
So just like, this feels like it should also be that. Like, this feels like it should just be a variation on an existing race that has been deigned to be its own race for reasons unclear. I like the idea and I like the concept, but at the same time, I don't know why this is its own race.
Because they have their own heritages.
But why? I guess that it means that they can take...
For different types of buffs and feats. You have like the way you're created as a Fleshwarp determines some of your starting stats and abilities.
I guess.
And they can be Aasimar Fleshwarps, Changeling Fleshwarps.
That is true, and I will admit that is cool.
Well, they get some really cool feats like living weapon. You've learned to use part of your form as a weapon.
You're missing the part where I say this is cool. Like, this sounds very cool. I just don't know why it's here. Like, I don't have a problem with anything at like D or E tier. To be honest, I like the spider race the most. Like, if this tier list is Pathfinder 2E races based upon how much Robin wants to play this now, S tier.
Oh no.
It's just like, I don't believe anyone asked for this before now but like 3 people. And like, I don't believe anyone asked for this to be its own race. Like, this feels like a side variation like Aasimar. I like the concept and I like that it gets its own feats, so I do understand why they made it its own race. But at the same time, I think this is very easily the first who asked. Like, I like the idea, but I don't... I can't put my mind behind why it is its own race, with the exception of mechanical intent.
I don't know.
And mechanical intent is fine. Like, it's its own race, so we can make the living weapon feat, because that's dope.
Yeah.
Like, mechanical intent is fine, but like, that doesn't change the question of who asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I'm comfortable with F. I could also see low E.
Probably E.
Alright, we can go with low E.
Because at least it's a race that you would reasonably select.
Yeah, like there is a rationale behind the choice.
Like, if you look at it, it looks pretty cool. I'll probably play that or something.
Yeah, no, like, no one opens the book intending to play this, but you see it and go, wait, hang on. Goloma. Golomas fear most other people and deliberately use their unusual biology to frighten off those that they consider to be dangerous predators. Rarely seen and poorly understood, Goloma's many-eyed and wooden-faced visages instill terror in most they meet.
They look so badass, though.
It looks like Alien meets Predator, and I'm fucking here for it.
Hell yeah, it does.
Like, I can give it... I think I can give Goloma D on the fact that this looks like a xenomorph and a predator fucked. Like, it is D tier solely on the grounds of the fact that I am confident without even looking it up that there exists playable racial stat blocks in at least 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons for both the xenomorph and whatever the race of the predator is. I forget, it has a race, but I forget.
They're called the Yachas, dropping.
Thank you! I guarantee you a Yacha and a xenomorph exist.
That's pronounced Yaucha.
Don't fucking get fresh with me. Puppet. Puppets are small, basic constructs that typically help their owners with simple tasks. Occasionally, puppets gain sentience, independence, and a spark of life. Elevated beyond mere helpers or playthings, these puppets are free to chart their own destinies. Absolutely nobody wanted to play as a hag doll.
Ragdoll.
Like, there are times in, like, fucking Adventures with Hags where they'll be like, oh yeah, these hags trapped the souls of children inside these small little voodoo dolls. Like, I've seen that a couple of times. That's what this is, except it's a playable race and I don't know why it's here.
They're cool.
I like, no, this is F tier. Come on. This is F tier. Like, this is a curse you put on your players for fucking around and finding out.
Well, it certainly fits because they're voodoo dolls.
Exactly, like, that's what I mean. It's a voodoo doll. This is what you do to your players if they fuck around with a hag and find out. This is not a race anyone wants to play.
Hey, I might want to play it someday.
Why?
Oh, wow. They have the flammable trait. You have a weakness to fire damage equal to 1/3 your level, minimum of 1.
Oh my god. Shisk. I almost vowed Shrek. Shisk are secret mountain. Shisk are. Shrek. Shisk is a. God fucking hell. Shisks are secretive mountain dwellers, bone-feathered humanoids, lurk underground in dark tunnels and caverns. Their fascination with collecting and protecting esoteric knowledge is one of the few things that can persuade them to explore the outside world.
They kind of look like people with hedgehog needles sticking out.
Yeah,
or porcupine needles, really.
This feels like a culture more than a race, and it feels like they were given traits. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Their history is passed down verbally and musically, and they rarely maintain written records in order to keep their knowledge safe. Often the only proof that Shisks exists come from explorers finding signs of their architecture, organic and low-impact adobe buildings carved out of mountains rather than built atop them.
This just feels like a culture. This just feels like a human culture. Like, I don't know why. This is debatably X tier. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why this exists. I don't know why this is not just human.
Like, yeah, they have, like, other animalistic features, but, like...
Yeah, like, this just feels like...
They seem like a variation of... Like, they feel like they could also be a variation of an orc.
Yeah, like, why...
Like orc shamans or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is this its own race? Shoony. Diminutive humanoids who resemble squat bipedal dogs. Shoony are sometimes mistaken for weak and insular pacifists. However, their sheer perseverance, incredible work ethic, and resourceful use of diplomacy make Shoonies far from helpless.
Man's best friend.
This feels rude. Like, God... I like the race, but man, you don't have to you don't have to go in on Shoonies so hard. Like, the Shoonies flavor text is just dunking on them.
True. They're dog people, though.
Yeah, I like it. It's just like, God.
The little puppies. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
This is weird because, like, I feel like...
Like, have you ever wondered what it looked like to see a pug wielding a sword?
Yeah, like,
with 2 hands?
You know what's weird to me when you think about it?
What?
In all honesty, this should be here.
Uh-huh.
But, like, culture has deigned otherwise?
Culture has deigned cat people more popular than dog people.
Exactly. Like, it's so weird. I like this in C. Because just, like, I feel like this, like, I feel like dog people make, that should be higher. And I feel like that's had to be a request.
Mm-hmm.
Like, B, I don't feel like it's common enough for B, but I don't feel like it belongs with the plants and the spiders.
Hey, if you ever want to make a Corone...
Yeah, exactly. You can make
Pathfinder.
You can make your favorite VTubers.
Wait, there's no rabbit people. I can't make Pecora.
Isn't that? Oh no. Yeah, they don't have Herringon. I guess that's 5th edition only. Sprite. Sprite are diminutive, whimsical, and exuberant creatures in the Fade realm known as the First World. I guess that's what they call it. They love playing pranks, exploring new things, and embracing everything to do with magic. I don't feel like playable. Why is this the picture that they went with for sprites?
But that is technically a sprite.
I guess. I also love the female picture of sprites where it's just like a small woman holding a butter knife.
She's gonna shank you.
But yeah, no, I feel like playable fairies are at least C, debatably B.
I would say B, because I've always wanted to play fairy.
Yeah, like fairies are actually pretty common thing for people to talk about playing. Like, mostly just because the Feywild is such, like, that's everyone's favorite plane to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like that definitely gets it up to B, in my opinion.
Yeah. Plus, they're the first race that is considered tiny.
True. Strix. Known as Itari in their own language, Strix are reclusive avian humanoids devoted to their homelands and their tribes. They defend their precious communities with broad wingspans and razor talons. This feels a very similar niche to the Aarakocra.
Yeah, they're the Aarakocra, except they're more humanoid.
Yeah, so like, Aarakocra and Strix are like common enough and ubiquitous enough that I feel like it belongs in B. But at the same time, it's a little weird that it's in B, so like I don't know.
Who
like,
really has asked for bird people to be playable, though?
Yeah, like, that's kind of why I'm leaning C. Like, it's so weird that they exist at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think C.
C, I think, makes the most sense.
But, yeah, so now the question becomes, what the fuck are we doing with all of these?
What are those? The versatile races?
Oh, fuck.
Basically, versatile heritages are what you can add with whatever heritage you are picking. So, if you are picking a human, you can also pick an Aasimar to go with that human heritage, or Changeling, or Dampier, so that you still maintain your original ancestry, you just get other traits with whatever versatile heritage you are picking.
Yeah.
Not all ancestries have the ability to use the versatile heritage, but many of them do.
Mm-hmm. So, they're not their own races, but I think they're on the list, so we can take them on.
Yeah.
Aasimar. I think A tier. Like, I don't feel like Aasimar are on the same level as humans and orcs, but at the same time, they're pretty common. Like, I feel like Aasimar are up there with goblins. Like, I think Aasimar is up there with Kitsune.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, like, they're the angel people.
Yeah, basically.
Aphorite. Once perfectly identical beings who bridge the gap between Axis' perfect order and mortals' unrestricted essence, Aphorites are now lit more by the spark of free will than the beacon of cosmic law. I don't know what Axis is.
I don't know what Aphorites are supposed to be.
Apparently, they were forged by the primary inhabitants of the Plane of Law, and then they just kind of obtained free will.
I guess.
Yeah, this feels like X tier. I don't know what this is.
Like, I'm not supposed. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to actually be. At first glance. Why
is this here? You know, knowing that this is here also just makes me question the hedgehog people even more.
Hedgehog people.
Changeling. Tales of children stolen away and replaced by monsters exist across countless cultures, but the true monsters are the hag mothers of these strange children. After the hag seduces, uses, and disposes of the father, the changeling child is usually abandoned in their father's community to be raised up. Oh my god!
What?
The changeling child is usually abandoned in their father's community to be raised among them. Such a child faces no end of challenges, often beginning life as an orphaned outsider. Honestly, Changeling feels like it deserves to just... Changeling is high on the list.
As much as I like 5E's Changeling and mechanically, I honestly really, really love the Changeling lore-wise, the flavor in Pathfinder 2nd edition, because they're not the same kind of, lore and stuff.
I honestly prefer 5th edition's lore, just because it makes the Changelings feel like their own thing. Although, as like a sub-race, I do understand why they went with the lore they did.
The thing about 5E's lore is that it's way too vague. You don't know where they come from, really.
I mean, I don't mind it. I don't mind some vaguity sometimes.
It just makes it hard to make an accurate, backstory with them.
Fair enough, I suppose. Although there is something to be said for leaving something open. Regardless.
I just like the 2nd edition Changelings where you're physically, trying to resist the call of the Changelings.
Yeah.
Of the hag or whatever. Because Changelings can be any gender, but women in particular are vulnerable to the call, a psychic influence that urges them to abandon their mortal life, join the hag's coven, and eventually become a hag. Changelings who understand their heritage often fear the call and work to resist its pull. Those who remain ignorant of their origin may find themselves subject to a terrible compulsion without knowing why. This kind of shit is stuff that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it gives the player who wants to be a changeling a sort of inherent flaw to their race and for them to overcome.
And a nudge in character, which I can vibe with. I feel like a lot of that got eventually put into the Hexblood, which is a later race option 5th edition added, which is more or less just all of that. So it doesn't feel like 5th edition is ignorant of that, but at the same time, it just didn't make it into the Changeling. So, I do kind of get what you're getting at there. Regardless, I feel like the Changelings are, a ubiquitous enough thing that just, I feel like Changeling could be its own race. So, I think Changeling owns its spot in B tier.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Changelings are just really cool as a concept, no matter what you're playing.
Dhampir. Many call vampires the children of the night, but it is Dhampirs who can truly claim that title. These mortal offspring of vampires walk the line between life and death, not just psychologically, but also in social standing, temperament, and worldview.
Alucard people.
Honestly, I feel like Dhampir are C, and that is completely undeserved.
I see.
Dhampir is in that position where it feels like a debuff, similar to the Fleshwarp, but at the same time, it is the debuff. Everyone wants to get hit with vampirism at least once.
True.
So, I can't in good faith put Dhampir in C, it even D. Dhampir is in C just because it feels like Dhampir being its own race in 5th edition feels a little weird to me, even if I do understand mechanically why it's its own race. Like
I hate that too.
Like what was the one we were talking about earlier?
The hedgehog people?
I think it was the hedgehog people. Yeah, I think it was the hedgehog people.
No, it was the Fleshwarp.
Fleshwarp, yeah. It's just like I get why this is its own race mechanically, but at the same time, it also feels like it shouldn't be. This is the opposite of Fleshwarp in every way.
The thing is, Dhampir in 5th edition is really sloppy.
Yeah,
and you can see the sloppiness because of the way it's handled. You can still maintain the traits of your whatever race you were before, but you would have to become a vampire during the campaign.
So weird.
But that's rules as written unless the DM allows you to create your character with the traits of whatever you were previously, and it's just like you could tell they want to make it a sub-race, but sub-races aren't a thing.
My brother in Christ, you wrote the system.
Exactly.
But I get it, and I do understand.
I think Dhampir's. I would actually argue it could be in B tier.
I get the rationale, it just doesn't feel like Changeling tier common.
But at the same time, there are people who want to play a vampire, but systems don't normally include a playable vampire race, so you have to settle for Dhampir. But I think because it's not a full vampire, sometimes that might turn people off.
Yeah.
Come on, they're vampires, Robin.
I'll allow it.
Imagine if Twilight was released now. How many vampires would you see?
God, don't even fucking... Look, let's just be happy Twilight was panned by every nerd and their mother, otherwise it would have been so much worse. Duskwalker. The first Duskwalkers manifested as a result of a bargain between two powerful... What the fuck is a psychopomp?
Psychopomp.
Okay, pause the video, hang on a second. Psychopomps are guardians and shepherds of the dead, native to the boneyard. I assume it's a plane of the dead. The vast plane of graves where mortal souls are judged and sent to the... What the why is... So two guardians of the dead got together and made a deal, and all of a sudden... Huh?
To be honest, Psychopomp sounds like a tribe in JoJo's, where two people with really, really cool pompadours just come together and just be like, yo! You know? Doing their poses and whatnot.
Josuke finally found
telekinetic powers.
God.
It's a gang of pompadour wearing psychomaniacs. Part 12.
Part 12. Awaken my pompadours. One believed that the certain souls who helped preserve the cycle of life and death, but had their lives cut short, deserved reincarnation, whereas the other felt that this would deserve... What the So basically, this feels like Ryuk and Ren had an argument and it resulted in a sub-race.
An argument?
This is X tier. What is... the line between F and X is so nebulous, I don't understand. I think the line is that the voodoo doll people feels like, okay, I understand why this is its own thing.
They're a race that's supposed to be, in between life and death, in a way. Duskwalkers have an inherent understanding of the cycle of life and death. In most cases, that manifests as a deep respect for that cycle and pushes the Duskwalker towards occupations that help them to protect it, such as hunters of the undead, midwives, morticians, and priests.
Yeah, you know what? It's the Reborn from 5th edition. Guess what? I think that shouldn't be its own race either.
It's like if Ryuk and Misa were fighting over light.
Exactly.
Who gets to keep light?
It's like I was saying, I get the line between F and X is this does not feel like it cannot be its own race. These feel like they could just as easily be any of the other races, or in the case of these like half races, sub races kind of deal, just not exist.
Yeah.
And this can just not exist. I get why this is here, but it also does not need to exist.
Yeah.
This feels like a scrapped Death Note concept. Ganzi. Children of Genji. Children of Chaos. Ganzis are born. Why is that the plural?
Gonzis. Oh no, he's Gonzis. Look, I got your toes. Your toes are Gonzis.
Children of Chaos, Ganzi are born of the rolling evanescence of the untamable maelstrom, the primal sea of all creation. Their blood crackles with the promise of change and the raw power of creation unshackled. So I was wondering what the fuck this was. Apparently this is that.
Yeah, that's if you chose a goblin with it, yeah.
I suppose. It's just like, honestly, this feels like it should be its own race. Like, this reminds me of the Simic Hybrids from 5th edition, which Simic Hybrid could easily have also been a subrace. Like, it feels like Dhampir, Reborn, and the others should have. But at the same time, I do understand thematically why Simic Hybrid is its own race, because it is so distinctly different. So, like, Simic Hybrid, I feel like, is the one instance of, like, 5th edition earned this being its own race, even though it could totally be a subrace. This feels like it should be its own race. Like, looking at the half one race, half fishman of all the designs, this feels like it could easily just be its own thing.
Maybe.
And, like, who doesn't, like, this hits a similar chord to Triton, which I'm surprised we didn't see earlier in. So I'm just kind of surprised that, like, this isn't its own race, because we're not getting that hole that feels like it should be filled by Triton.
I mean, they're not just, like, fish people, though.
They're people of the sea, but you get what I mean. It feels like, honestly, I kind of want to put this right next to the actual Aquaman race, indeed.
Maybe.
Like, I feel like these two, like, this, in my opinion, should just not exist, and should be part of this race. And that's specific enough that I don't feel comfortable putting it in X with the other ones like that.
Yeah.
Like, this one gets by on technicality. It's either in D or it's in X, which is a really wide gap, I know, but...
Yeah.
Ifrit. Ifrits descend from creatures such as Ifrit, salamanders, and magma dragons. Their spark of ancestral flame gives them a reputation for being passionate, not capricious.
Fire people.
I feel like this is another instance of this should be its own race. Like, I will retroactively change my mind on this later on if we find something else down the line. But I like the fact that the Genasi are their own race in 5th edition. And I feel like fire people is a unique enough concept that blending it to a subrace doesn't really feel right.
Counter argument. Goblins on fire.
Good counter argument, but
you can't do that in 5th edition.
Except with some really funny tactics. The goblin lights itself on fire with alchemist fire. What do you do?
So the Afrits and all the other elemental races that are like this, they're kind of what I wish the Genasi did in 5th edition.
But they are more like, you are X, but aspected to element.
Yes. Because like being like a goblin who is attuned to actual fire because you were born from literal fire, you know. You look really fucking cool while you're doing it. It's something that I wish 5e would do more of.
I get the argument, but it also feels like it's unique enough. Like, this feels like it could be its own concept.
No, I don't think so. Like, the thing is, 5th edition also tries to do the same thing that they did with Dhampir with Genasi in the reworks, where you can now select, you know, what their size is and all that. Like, so they're trying to make it so that you can kind of customize how your Genasi looks, but not really.
Which is strange, but regardless. I think we can pretty easily, we can just agree right now. Ifrit, Oriad, Suli, Ifrit, Oriad, Sylph, and Undyne, they're just fire, earth, air, and water genasi, right? Like, we can come to that agreement right now.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion settled. I don't mind the idea of them being sub-races of whatever, because just like that does open up for neat ideas, like ice-aspected human, fire-aspected goblin, or you could get really fucky and go with fire-aspected Leshy. This is so fucking terrible.
Can you do fire-aspected voodoo doll? I think you can.
So, Mr. Fire Pants, how are you feeling today? My entire existence is pain!
Actually, hey, I think you get some fire resistance out of it, though, I guess.
Does it negate the vulnerability?
Well, I mean, vulnerability is just extra damage. It's not like...
No, I know, but like...
It's not like double damage like 5e.
I just find the concept of... I took the fucking Ifrit subrace to mitigate the glaring downside of this terrible race.
But now it can throw fireballs.
You know what? Fine. I will relent with you.
That's the beauty of Pathfinder. You can make a doll who is on fire. With fire claws.
I am middling enough on the concept that I think I can just toss Ifrit, Oriad, Sylph, and Undyne all into sea.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the argument for them being sub-races, but at the same time, I also feel like they could be their own races. But all of that aside, I do also still kind of think that they are ubiquitous enough of a concept that to not have them around that level doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think all of the elemental races, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with all of them. My bones about whether they should or shouldn't be their own race aside, I feel like it's ubiquitous enough concept that they earn themselves C.
Mm-hmm. Suli.
Suli are geniekin who embody a mixture of elements, most commonly air, earth, fire, and water. They are typically the descendants of Yan, genies of all four elements that wander the material plane instead of making a home on the elemental planes.
They're basically Avatar The Last Genasi.
Yeah. Which I feel like is more of a class concept than a race. Like, this feels like something you work towards as a sorcerer or a monk. I get the argument behind it being a race, especially, you know, considering C-tier squad.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I feel like it's D. D feels right for this. Like, right below all of the elemental aspects that you actually think about.
Yeah.
Like, I am a genasi of all the elements is something someone spoke before realizing they were stupid. However, it is also still something someone kind of wants to be deep down in their heart.
Yeah, somebody wanted to be Aang.
Yeah, but, like, it's that idea you grow out of, and you realize you were silly for thinking about it early on, and you don't really want it anymore. But then you realize it's possible 10 years down the line, and you feel like you've reunited with your lost child.
Basically, yeah.
Like, nobody wants this, nobody asked for this, but someone somewhere thought about it at one point, and I can kind of get behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Tiefling. When the influence of a demon, devil, or other fiend infiltrates the bloodline of a mortal family, tieflings are the inevitable result. Tieflings carry the sinister mark of fiendish planes upon their flesh, and their specific abilities and physical qualities vary according to their heritage.
I would say either S or A.
I feel like Tiefling is getting screwed. I feel like Tiefling deserves S at this point. And I feel like the fact that Tiefling wasn't in base 2E is shocking.
Yeah, but it was in the advanced player's guide.
No, yeah, I get it. Like, you know someone at Paizo, like, They were breaking out the champagne. They were having the cast party. They were happy with the launch. And then someone breaks in, papers fall over the floor, and they go, "We forgot the tiefling! Shit!" And then they just fucking scramble for the next 20 minutes.
True.
Like, tiefling feels like it should have been in the base game as just its own race, because, like, 5th edition definitely made tiefling popular, and I don't know how. Because tiefling wasn't even that good in 5th edition in the PHB, but it was just the race that everyone wanted to fuck.
Demon people.
Why did everyone want to fuck tieflings? I don't understand.
Because Helltaker came out.
5th edition came out before that.
And then Helltaker came out.
And made everything worse, and I will give you that. But, like, I don't understand how they missed that. Like, it just feels like this sort of thing that's just like, yeah, no, we have no idea how we forgot this. Sorry, guys.
They probably wanted to include it with the Aasimar.
And maybe... But yeah, no, tiefling definitely feels like it's earned its spot, but with the rest of them.
And now, for the only rare versatile heritage that's out so far.
Beastkin. Beastkin have extraordinary abilities derived from the animal world, allowing them to partially or fully transform into animals, granting them deadly fangs, refined senses, and other such traits. A beastkin treads the line between nature and society, living with a foot in each.
The ultimate furry people.
I don't understand why this is... This, again, is the same kind of thing as, like, Fleshwarp and Dampier, where it's just like, this feels like a debuff you put... This feels like you gave your player Lycanthropy.
So you could play Lycanthropy.
And, like, I'm fine with, like, vampirism.
Well, you're half right. Most beastkin are born of were creatures or have a were creature ancestor in their lineage.
Right, it's the shifter. And, like, even in 5th edition, I always felt like shifter could have been a subrace. Because just, like, I feel like werewolf is the reason dog race is so low.
Because everyone wants to be a werewolf?
Yeah.
Probably.
So just, like, I feel like nobody wants to be a half werewolf.
True.
People can kind of get behind Dampier, but nobody wants to be a half werewolf. That's being a werewolf without any of the benefits.
I think that's also a lot of the problems with a lot of the half races, is that a lot of people don't want to be just half. They want to be the full thing, which is why orcs exist.
Yeah, like, half-orc really only seizes the play it does in 5th edition, because for a while, orcs weren't playable. Half-elves, I feel like, are the exception, because they kind of are their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because of Aragorn.
Aragorn?
Yeah, he was a half-elf.
He was more like an 8th elf, a quarter elf. He wasn't a half elf.
The DM let him versatile elf, even though that wasn't a thing.
Basically, yeah.
But yeah, no, like, nobody wants to be a half werewolf. That's like you're side chicking this really hot woman, and everyone's looking at you like, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not X tier, and it's defined enough to be above F tier. So just, like, I feel like it's E tier, mostly just because I feel like both Paizo and Wizards are doing this, and just not wanting to commit to making playable vampires and werewolves. So they've given us halvesies equivalents. The only difference is half vampire is actually kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like Beastkin tries to encompass all of the possible were-beast.
Which is so...
There's like, instead of making a werewolf and a werebear and a were-rabbit, we'll make a beastkin.
Why don't we just not commit? Feels like that one fucking meme. Dampier sitting in the back like, I don't even know that guy. Look at me, brother.
Are those the half-elf, half-orc? Are those the half-human heritage?
Well, what's him?
I don't even know what that looks like.
Looks like a raccoon in the garage. Okay, yeah. Half elf, half... Oh, that's not even the half orc.
Oh, that's not that... Oh, right, it's the half orc, half elf heritage, I think.
Oh, right. That
is a thing that I forgot existed. Because I'm so used to only humans having the half traits.
Yeah, so like, okay, retroactive, half-elf S, half-orc, half-elf B, only because I have personally experienced someone requesting to play that.
Oh, true.
I feel like that has to be more common if I have personally experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leaves this.
I believe it is one of the rat heritages.
Why are there rat heritages? I guess maybe it could be that. So I guess
that's my guess.
Under that assumption, I guess we could put it as like, I don't feel like this deserves B tier. We can't even find it. We don't know if it actually is this. If it is that, it doesn't deserve B tier.
They put it in X tier.
Yeah, like,
we don't know what it is.
Ma, there's a weird fucking rat outside. So, that is every race, sub-race, and whatever's going on over here in Pathfinder 2nd Edition rated.
This isn't meant to be like a serious tier list, so...
Yeah, the qualifications for the tier list are who asked.
Exactly. Also, apparently, Aragorn is approximately 0.0078125% Elvish.
What percent? Oh, holy shit. That's like not even quantifiable. What the fuck?
Yeah, someone did the math on how Elvish Aragorn is, apparently.
Oh, okay. So apparently that makes him 1/128th. Why is that even a character trait for? They mention it in the movie like it's important.
It's not that important. It's only important in that he has a longer lifespan.
Aragorn is as elven as I am Native American. I think I'm more Native American than he is elvish.
Well, okay, but Robin, do you look that good at 87 years old?
I don't know, I'm not there yet.
In the movies, he is 87 years old.
In the movie, that's bullshit.
No, like that's
I
because
know.
of his elven heritage.
I know.
He dies at the age of 210 years old.
You're telling me that man is like... Okay, so like, if he dies at 210, humans die at like 75. That put him at like... Yeah, I look that good. I don't think you understand. I am sexy as shit.
Sure.
If I worked out and got a little bit more jacked... Thank you guys for coming. If you guys would like to see more stupid tier lists like this, maybe something for 5th edition, maybe more for Pathfinder.
Maybe a 5th edition one would be funny.
Maybe I could drag Zephyr along for something Lancer related.
Oh no.
But yeah, let us know if you'd like to see more tabletop related content. It's something that we both like. So, yeah, take it easy.
See ya.
Special thanks to Axel Rosenberg, Moonrabbit, Sokekion, Cynical Vixen, and Zayden on the Patreon, along with Fabrizio Pignataro on the YouTube members. Thank you guys so much, and we hope to see you all in the next one.